All right. Today's reading is from Genesis 11, oops, 11:30, but it's mainly Genesis 21:8 through Genesis 24. Let's see if that's right. Yeah, there's 25 pick up and 25 tomorrow. So this is a lot about Sarah, and then we get into the story about Sarah, having Isaac and getting upset about that, and Hagar being sent away, and Isaac getting sacrificed, and um, the death of Sarah, and then Rebecca comes into the picture as well. A lot of cool things happen, a lot of really neat stuff, but there's a lot of things that I have questions about. I've had questions for years on a lot of this, and the biggest thing I always get is God is God. God is God. So the first thing I noticed, Sarah was angry about Ishmael, demanding even, and God told Abraham to accept it and do as Sarah said. He didn't don't worry about it. God said, don't worry about this. I've got it. Just do as Sarah said. Sarah was very demanding. She was upset about it, and kind of rightly so. But she let her emotions come through. It's the way I read it in the NLT anyway. It's kind of interesting. Get rid of that slave woman and her son. Is not going to share in the inheritance with my son Isaac. I won't have it. That's the way the NLT version puts it. And it's interesting to see that style demanding, and then to see what God tells Abraham to do. And he doesn't tell him, well, you're the man, you don't have to do that. Abraham was upset about that. He didn't like the whole idea that to put Ishmael away. That was his son also. But God said, listen to her. Listen to her. Be obedient. It kind of reminds me of how Jesus said, husbands, love your wives. Is that Jesus that said that? I do know that Paul said that. So we're getting a lot of the instructions. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. How did Christ love the church? He laid down his life. He told the truth. He laid down his life. He allowed us to kind of walk all over him. He ate with sinners, and he asked us to change our ways. In this case, with Sarah sinning, I think it'd be a bit upsetting for Abraham, but was she doing something against being submissive to her husband? Wives, submit to your husbands. I'm not seeing that. She's just saying, this hurts me. This hurts me, and please take care of that. And Abraham does, and sends Hagar away with the boy. So along with that, when that comes about, the thing that intrigued me there is that God heard the boy crying. Didn't hear Hagar's pleading or anything, but heard the boy crying and went to Hagar and said, don't worry about it. I'm going to make a nation from him as well. I'm going to bless you. And then we get into the treaty with Abimelech, the same Abimelech that Abraham had tried to deceive with Sarah and try to have Sarah be his sister, and Abimelech almost got into big trouble over that with God. But through his own obedience and his own realizing through the dream that God is God and Abraham was blessed, he did not sin. Right? He didn't go into that. He didn't do the wrong thing. He did the right thing. Still intrigues me that he wanted to sleep with this 90-year-old woman. But he didn't, and blessed by it. And then there's the treaty and some lands and some interesting things there, but something to consider and pay attention to. Then we get into the sacrifice of Isaac. Go and sacrifice him as a burnt offering on the mountains which I will show you. So, and Abraham faithfully went. He went in faith. He went in complete faith. He went in faith knowing that God said that he would bless Abraham with many descendants through Isaac. So was Abraham expecting that Isaac was going to come back to life after the sacrifice, after the burnt offering, or what was Abraham expecting? He was just being obedient. Again, remember, Abraham has been through a lot of different things and seen things that have caused him problems by not being obedient. In this case, so he was completely obedient here. And he's seen things where he wasn't completely obedient. We've seen that where he didn't trust with Abimelech. He didn't trust with Lot. He allowed those things to come in. and they cause problems further down the line. In this case, he was completely obedient. Some I hear some people use this as their, well, God's not loving. Look, he asked Abraham to sacrifice. Well, that doesn't say anything about the nature of God, because God provided. That tells me that if you're thinking that way, you don't understand. You don't want to understand the love of God and how good he really is. And he did not offer that. The question is, though, it does come up. And I'm saying I've asked this question every time I read through this. Why? God knew Abraham's heart, right? He knew what Abraham would do. Why would he put him through? Why would we need to see this in this way? And all I ever get back is God is God. Regardless, God is God. God always provides. God is good. This is good. When God says to do something, God is God. He created all things. He knows all things. He is all powerful, all creator. Why it's here, it's for a reason. It's for us to wrestle with and continue to ask about this. I will not stop, and I'll still always settle on the fact that God is God, but I will say, what else is there? But that's real interesting. I always also wonder, what did Isaac go through? What did he feel, or what did he experience afterwards from that? I mean, God being God, he could make it all go away, right? He can make us forget certain things. He can make us not understand or hold back from things. We've seen that in the New Testament and how things operated. So God is God. I stand on that. Then we get into the burial of Sarah at 127 years old. Isaac's 37 at this point. She was 90. We get into how Abraham buys the burial ground, and he negotiates and pays full price, which is the right thing to do. And there's this back and forth that goes with that, and there's a reason we have that. I'm not sure why. And then we get the Abraham sending the servant out to get Rebecca, and he does a covenant by having the servant put the hand under his thigh. Again, why? Mm-hmm. Then we get into the servant's prayer at the well, a very specific prayer, and is specifically fulfilled, and very, very well done. She does just a great job. I mean, she's one. I mean, I look at this, and this is such a great request because it portrays a good-hearted woman, a good-hearted serving person that offers to do more, and that's exactly what Isaac needed. But God delivered that. But also, we see also where when it's explained that an angel is sent out ahead that made the mission successful. So the angel caused all this to happen and worked through him. Another interesting point that I noticed here. So that's something, just settle on that. Settle that when we ask for things and success comes, the Lord will send out angels ahead to make those things come through. And ask for things. Ask specifically. We see that later on when we get into you get the wall and the dew and it's wet and the ground is dry and the ground is wet and the wool is dry. Anyway, that's very specific. So we can ask for specific things. The fleece, right? The fleece. Ask for things specifically to understand. But the other thing I wanted to note here is that the servant bowed low in worship to God, and bowing low is a sign of worship, is a position of reverence. So just something to think about biblically. Bowing low. Then we see kind of a quick glimpse of the mindset and the attitude of Isaac as he was when Rebecca met him. He was walking in the fields and meditating. He was thinking of, assuming good things. So he was contemplating. And then they go into Sarah's tent, and that's his wife. Very simple, very interesting marriage there. There were no vows. There was no anything special. They were married. So anyway, that's my thoughts today, January 7th, 2025. Bible in you?